1896, Paris, and on the southern bank of the serene Seine, the construction of a monument has stopped. You strain your neck to look upwards at the massive tower, while a writer to your left is calling it an ugly, useless flower, and an engineer to your right is praising Eiffel, for the structural support is no mere trifle. Either way, art and technology have come together. Later that night, you're at the Theatre Houdini, and a stage magician called Melies is claiming he can make this woman disappear. Yeah, right. Poof, and she's gone. While still in shock, the writer to your left is scoffing at the crowd's applause. That's no art, that's no theater. Pantomime's a mere crowd pleaser, while the engineer to your right is marveling at the harnessing of electricity for lighting, the smoothness of revolving stages, the design of the concealed trapdoor. I mean, it's a cool effect, but it's not art, it's a spectacle.
What do you mean it's not art? That costs like $5 million to make.
Born into a newly wealthy family in 1861, Melies was a hope of the family's continued fortune and was given the best education money could buy. Although he saw some difficulties in his studies due to his constant doodling in class, he was overall a good student, and after graduating would go into the family business for a little. However, the business was of little interest to him, and he avoided it as much as possible to spend his time studying drawing and painting. At the first opportunity, he would sell his interest in the family business to his brothers so that he could take lessons in conjuring from the local magic supply shop guy and use the money to buy the rundown theater of Robert Houdin. What a time to be alive. Walking into his theater, you would see elaborate technical sets with mechanical performing dummies, lantern effects, creations that relied on a deep knowledge of the most recent technical innovations. With both the traditions of the magic stage and the vocabulary of the emerging scientific accomplishments, Melies was well positioned to take advantage of the emerging film technology, translating the illusions he had developed in the Theatre Houdin into film. The stage hands became actors, the piano guy became cameraman, and Melies became one of the first directors. This is not somebody who saw himself as an artist in the same vein as the poets around that time, who were deliberately trying to push art forward. He was a showman who created fun tricks for profit to entertain the masses, and never pretended to anything more. But we also shouldn't lampoon the man for not having a manifesto on art. The fact still remains that he was more talented than most. He had this mixture of an engineer's approach to the technological challenges, able to construct his own camera using machine parts from around the theater, build his own studio, chemically treat all of his film, and MacGyver each set. While also taking huge risks as a businessman in an emerging industry, he embodies the image of the director as the great reconciler between art and technology. A maker, an actualizer, an attitude still around today.
So it was sort of going in two different directions. It was a long time. It was about, I would say I was 25 or 26 before I really settled in and said, this is it, this is the decision, I'm going to work in film in some capacity. And what finally attracted me to film in such a definitive way was it was the only place I could reconcile the need to tell stories and to work in a visual art medium, and the desire to understand things at a technological level, and my fascination with engineering and technology. It's one of the few media that are so dependent on technology. So it was a way to fuse those interests.
While Melies may be a stage magician who was experimenting with film to do magic tricks, and no Scorsese, he was still the foremost pioneer in the medium, and so there's likely much we can learn from examining his techniques. So if we're going to get a good idea of how to create in the first ever distinct style of filmmaking, we're going to have to break down his works to see where the magic came from. What we're looking at here is his first ever surviving film, which is a simple staged comic action. A man walks into a room and is attacked by bedbugs. There are no camera tricks, only the simple manipulation of a pasteboard bug with an invisible wire. So, not thrilling, but this kernel of an idea will go on to be used to greater effect in his later works. Alright, should be simple enough. We can order some fishing line and play around with tying it to random stuff. It's a simple trick, but as a tool for pulling props out of frame, it has some potential. With that in our back pocket, we can move to the next trick, which is really the heart of the Melies style: stop substitutions. The trick first appears in this film, in which he's recreating a trick he would have done on stage using a cumbersome trapdoor and a slit in that newspaper. But this time he's doing it with nothing but a stopped camera. This allowed the woman to leave the set while Melies froze in place until the camera was rolling again. Basically this.
You guys want to see a magic trick?
Well, it doesn't look like much to our eyes who are used to so much more. I mean, it barely counts as a cut. But if this is the first crude step in the language of film, then it's worth mastering. The difficulties here seem to be getting the exact timing of the cut and restoring the body to the exact position when the stop was made. Way too late. Now too early. Off position. Good enough. Well, I've exhausted the easy tricks, so now it's time to take on one of the harder ones: masking. In this film, Melies creates a primitive matte shot by covering or masking the lens in the area in which the portrait would appear. After the scene was shot, the film was rewound and the portrait image photographed while everything else was masked out. This basically gives us the power to insert whatever footage we want into some area of the screen, as long as we have a setting with enough blank space. Although a very basic version, it's fundamentally the same effect that the blockbusters of the Hollywood era would greatly improve upon and use to actualize their impossibly ambitious sets. Now, I don't have access to film stock since that's expensive and the only thing I know how to use is my iPhone, so I can't literally recreate what Melies did, but I think I can approximate it using 3 clips and a digital mask. First, we put the clips in the right position. With the shot we want the mask on top of the clip we're going to insert. The TV creates a nice frame for our second clip, so we can trace around it and create a mask, which gives us a transparent area that the second clip fits into. Then just adjust the second clip so it fits within the boundaries, and we have our primitive matte shot. While with these tricks we probably have enough to start filming, there are a few more things I want to consider. Melies was known for his fantastic displays and staging techniques, which he developed based on the popular pantomime at the time. Since I live with my parents, this is not something easy to recreate, so I'll have to make do with what's around the house. Also, in all of his films, he has this distinct style of acting, which is based upon mime. I'm no actor, but these exaggerated movements shouldn't be too hard to imitate in the film. Finally, the framing of the shots are simple, as if he's performing directly for a theater audience. The name for this is proscenium framing, and it's good because it means less work for me. Now, if we take some simple narrative structure out of a beloved sci-fi franchise, which is what Melies would have done with Jules Verne at the time, copy some of the visual aesthetic the best we can using what we have, practice his style, and put to use all of the tricks we've reverse engineered, and we should be able to create the next Dune movie in the style of Melies.